and we're live here. So thank you everybody for tuning in. This is day 3 of our little experiment here in live guided meditations. We're trying to meet the moment because we know that many of you are quite justifiably stressed out and anxious, and we want to be here to serve in some way, and also to give you a little sanity break in the middle of your day, and maybe even a little humor. We'll be doing this every day at 3 Eastern on weekdays indefinitely. And we've got an incredible lineup of meditation teachers. The way this works now is we'll do about 5 minutes of guided meditation, and then we'll take your questions. And our teacher today, our maestro, is Susan Piver. Susan, hi. Thanks for being with us.
Hi. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're streaming in from Somerville, Mass.
Somerville. That's
I was just going to do that. Somerville. I grew up not far away in Newton, Mass. I can occasionally do a Boston accent, and my 5-year-old son gets very annoyed at me when I do it.
Justifiably so, I'm sure.
Yes, justifiably so. Sometimes I'll ask him, how do you say, farmer's market in Boston? And he'll grudgingly say, farmer's market.
Oh, that's your boy.
Yes, that's my boy. So how are you doing in the midst of all of this?
I'm okay. Like everyone, I'm stressed out too. There's so much uncertainty. But there's so much to do as, a meditation teacher. And so I'm okay. I'm worried about, just like everyone, as I say, but it's great that you're doing this. I'm also trying to teach more online and make something available for people that are just sitting at home anyway. And meditating together is the best thing I think that we can do.
Yeah.
So
before we go, you can see one of my cats in the background having the Zooms. Before we leave today, we should make sure to tell people exactly how they can tune into your live guided meditations. I also want to point out to anybody who's wondering why you're holding your hand this way, it's because your microphone makes a lot of crackly noises if you don't hold it gingerly. So you're being a good sport. So before we dive into the meditation today, I know you had some thoughts about kind of the themes you wanted to hit. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. People may have noticed that Buddhist meditation, which is what I teach and practice, is famously associated with compassion. And I've often asked myself, why is that? Just sitting there breathing, what does that have to do with compassion? But what happens when you sit, as I'm sure you know, is you start to soften. And when you soften, you start to feel more. And when you feel more, you are able to tune into what other people are feeling more. And the gate between your heart and theirs clears out. And it seems that compassion practice is actually the antidote to stress, not necessarily focusing on your breath or, being more mindful, but being more kind seems to be an on-the-spot antidote that we can all employ. So that's really what I've been thinking about. And when I was thinking about what we would talk about today, I wanted to focus on the incompatibility of stress and kindness. You can't really feel both at the same time.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of science here. This isn't just, the stuff of after-school specials. There's a lot of science that shows that compassion has sort of an elevating, ennobling effect on our nervous systems and on our mind, which, of course, those two are interconnected. And also, I just wanted to kind of go back to the point you were making about how meditation makes us more compassionate. And, I'm not, as I've said before on this live stream and on my podcast, I'm not the most sentimental of human beings, but it is really true that there's a Tibetan expression that has really hit home for me in terms of describing the way in which meditation can work, at least in my experience, which is the word for enlightenment, as I understand it, in Tibetan, roughly translates into a clearing away and a bringing forth. And so you turn down the noise on your often self-centered inner dialogue. It just makes you more available to be useful to other human beings. And in the being useful, you get happier. So it's this interesting sort of enlightened self-interest cycle that can play out.
Agreed. The Dalai Lama once said, If you want to be unhappy, think of yourself. And if you want to be happy, think of others. And that's not a moral statement, although it may sound like one. It's simply a truth, it seems, that when you think of others and do things for others, not only do you feel happier, but you feel more empowered because you're drawing on your strength. And when you think of yourself and worry, your world starts to shrink and it's disempowering. So it's just a practical piece of advice, not a moral piece of advice.
And I can really see myself toggling between these two, which is natural and human, especially these days. So let's do what everybody's come here to do. Let's do a couple minutes of meditation.
My pleasure. Thank you. So please begin your practice by relaxing. You can sit up, you can lie down, you can keep your eyes open, you can close them, and look around and see where you are. I'm in some neighbor's office, but see where you are and feel yourself land. Just be here. At times of stress, it can feel energetically or literally in the body that you're going like this, trying to meet what might be coming toward you, or going like this, trying to avoid it. But see if you can let both of those go. And just sit up straight or lie down in a relaxed way. And to follow up on what Dan and I were saying about the utility of compassion, let's do a little compassion practice for people who are on the front lines fighting on our behalf. Healthcare workers, delivery people even, scientists, researchers, doctors, nurses. There are people out there who are working to quell the pandemic. And we want to offer them something kind. It's helpful to you, too, to do this. So to begin, it's important not to ignore your own stress. If we try to shove that aside, we also shove aside the possibility for compassion, because feeling what we actually feel opens that compassion door. Don't take my word for that. Try it. Begin by noticing the texture of your fear, not the story, because of this, or if only that happened, but the feeling that you have right now. Maybe it's heavy, maybe it's hot, maybe it's cold. Fine. Tune into that and wish for yourself. It's very important to begin with yourself. May I be healthy. Just wish that for yourself. May I be safe from harm. May those I love be well. May our world be at peace. May my world be at peace. And building on, may I be healthy, may I be strong, may my loved ones be well, and my world at peace. Imagine as best you can all the people out there right now who are in labs, in hospitals, at their desks, working to find a cure for the pandemic, or simply to treat patients who are ill, having to make very difficult decisions. People who are willing to leave their house and put themselves at risk for the benefit of others. And wish for them, the people on the front lines, may you be safe. Send that out to them. May you be safe. May you remain healthy and strong. Feel the feeling of health and strength in your own body and emanate it out from your heart. May you be healthy and strong. May your loved ones be well. May your world be at peace. Picture that. And to close, let's make this wish for all beings. Everywhere. That's how big your heart is. You can actually do it, or pretend to. Both are fine. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy and strong. May those who are healthy remain that way, and those who are ill recover. May everyone's loved ones be well. Everyone. May all beings be safe from harm. And to close, let that go. And if it sounds sappy, don't do this, but otherwise just place your hand right on your own heart and feel your own warmth and goodness and have confidence in that. And I thank you.
Was that actually 5 minutes? It was so fast.
It was 6, I think, according to my clock.
It's so interesting, this type of meditation. For the last 2 days, we've only been, as I mentioned, we've only been at this for 3 days. For the last 2 days, we've been doing sort of basic mindfulness meditation where you watch your breath, and then every time you get distracted, you start again and again. This is classically referred to as loving kindness or metta meditation, where you're developing the capacity for compassion. What you just led, it's a different flavor of meditation. And I have my own sort of tortured history with it, which is that as a guy raised in suburban Boston in the 70s and 80s, somehow the whole idea of, putting your hand on your heart or wishing well to people, it didn't land that well for me, but it has become my primary practice.
Really?
Yes, in recent years. And again, part of that was because I saw all the science that suggests that this kind of meditation has a really beneficial effect. And also, I've just seen how it can play out in my own individual life to the notion that a friendliness or a desire to help other people can be trained, that it isn't some factory settings that you can't tinker with, is such a radical notion. And that's what the science around this form of meditation that you've been teaching illustrates.
It's such a great point. It's such a great point. It can be learned. It can be learned. And in addition, and I'm not trying to say it's magic because I don't think it is, but I've noticed, for instance, in my own marriage, if I'm like really angry at something my husband's done, and I know he's angry at me too, I do loving kindness for myself. I'm unhappy right now. And then I do loving kindness for him. And something seems to shift. I'm not saying all our problems go away, but an opening is created that prior was tight. Yeah. And the breath awareness meditation is obviously hugely important. That's also sometimes called formless meditation. There is no object, just the breath. Loving kindness and other practices are meditations with a form. There's something you actually do. And they are important together. They make a beautiful pairing. So it's great that you know how to do both.
So we've got a bunch of questions pouring in. Kasia Stepien, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but her question is, or his question, I don't know, what are thoughts about others involve worry for their well-being? How can we transform our worry for others into more ease?
That's a great question. So the problem with difficult emotions like worry and anxiety is when you say, go away, I don't like you, then that doesn't work. I mean, try it. I've tried it many times. I'm speaking from personal experience. That does not work. What does seem to be helpful, however, is to open to that quality of worry. Not the story of the worry. Well, they go out too much, or they're weak, or I don't know if they're taking care of themselves. Those are thoughts, maybe very important thoughts, but that's not what I'm suggesting you tune into. If instead you tune into, what does it feel like to worry? Does it make your shoulders go like this? Does it make the room feel darker? Whatever qualitative elements you can identify, open to that. Because the truth is, who you are is much bigger than any particular worry or anxiety, and you can include it. And when you relax with your worry, it tends to diffuse on its own, and it's also more empowering. So yes, we are worried about those we love. You can also look just underneath the worry, and what you will find, I'm quite sure, is love. That's why you're worrying. And if you can shift your attention a little bit more to how much you love rather than how much you worry, you will get back on the good foot.
Well, let's talk about the flip side of this, because we have a question from somebody named Dan, good, strong name. And actually, this question was also posed to me via email from a colleague of mine named Tom. And the question is, how do you recommend managing emotions such as resentment or even anger towards those who are not taking coronavirus seriously?
Yeah. Well, Dan and Tom, these are really good questions. The word manage is the problem. You have every right to be resentful. You have every right to be angry. Yeah, it's absurd and irresponsible. Once I was talking to a great Tibetan meditation master. It's always a great opening for a story. Tulku Tunda Rinpoche, and I was talking to him about something that was making me very, very angry. And I was expecting him to give me a solution to how I could turn back into a nice person who only wanted things to be good. And instead he said, well, just imagine how much compassion you will have for people you meet in the future who are struggling with what you struggle with. And that was a great lesson to me. I stopped fighting. I mean, I still had to struggle with whatever it was I was struggling with. But I also recognized when I meet someone in the future who is deeply resentful, very anxious, very stressed, super hurt, very enraged, I will feel for them in a way that I would not be able to unless I was having this experience currently. So forget about manage. Feel what you feel. Don't be afraid. Unless you are struggling with trauma, that's a different situation. But otherwise, don't fear what you feel. And know that underneath it, as I said to Cassius, I think was the name, there is something very good, which is concern for others. So remember that too. I know that's not a super, 1, 2, 3, it's gone solution, but there is some utility in the struggles we have in terms of future possibilities for compassion.
No, I mean, this has been one of the through lines of everything that Team 10% has been doing since the crisis really started to ramp up, and of many of your comments today, which is we are having difficult feelings. What mindfulness and meditation help us to do is to change our orientation toward them. So we're not fighting them, we're not feeding them for just a minute, for just a nanosecond. We can step out of the fray and not fight or feed the thing, but just let it be there. And that move is radical, and it allows you to not be owned by the thing and to make better decisions as a consequence.
100%. That move is radical. And it's also very brave, because you stop trying to muck around with your inner experience and you just go, let me look at it. If we want to talk about leaning in, this is the ultimate leaning in. And just that gesture of courage of facing what you feel without trying to tinker with it reseats you in some situation of power, because that is a power move. Trying to hide from it and fight it, that is not a power move. So we want to remember how we genuinely are powerful, and feeling what we feel, sometimes in some circles called a soft skill. I would make an obscene gesture with my hand, but I'm not going to do it, is actually the hardest skill. And so be strong.
Yes. As we wrap here, a couple of items of business. One thing is, I would like, if people have justifiably fallen in love with you during the course of this live stream, and they want to know more about how they can engage with more meditations that you're offering during this crisis. Can you just give us the basic facts?
Yeah, thank you so much. I have an online meditation community called the Open Heart Project, openheartproject.com. And there are 20,000 people all over the world who practice together. And during this time, for the duration, as they say in wartime, we're offering 4 live meditations a day. All times are Eastern, 9, noon, 3, and 6, with a variety of teachers, myself included. A 20-minute sit, a short conversation, and 2 of our teachers are leading in Spanish. So if you're a Spanish speaker, please check that out. And you can find it all on openheartproject.com, and it's in a video chat much like this. So I hope you'll come.
Great. Let me just say a few things to close here. Tomorrow we've got Sharon Salzberg, and on Friday we've got Jack Cornfield, and we have an incredible lineup for. I think we've got teachers booked for like 4 weeks here. Just incredible lineup of teachers. So do me a solid on a couple of fronts. One is if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be great. And also there is a survey that we put at the bottom of the video description in YouTube. We want to get a sense from you guys what you like about what we're doing and what you don't like, so we can improve, because we want to do this for the long haul. Another thing you could do that would be great is tell people about this. We want as many people to join as possible. So if you can share the link on your social media or text your friends, that would be awesome. And then finally, I want to just tell you about some other stuff we're doing here during this crisis. As you know, we're doing this live stream, but we also have, if you go to 10%.com, which is our webpage, there's a prominent link on the page to a whole set of free guided meditations and talks. And by talks, I mean 3 to 10 minute long sort of mini podcasts from meditation teachers, scientists, all sorts of experts about issues related to keeping your sanity during the coronavirus. So this is all new, fresh material specifically designed to help you right now, and it's all free. The other thing I want to point out is that the 10% Happier podcast, Susan is a prior guest of that podcast, is now going to twice a week. We just posted an episode on parenting in a pandemic today. Friday, we'll be back with another episode. So we're going to be doing Wednesdays and Fridays for the duration, as Susan said. And finally, if you're a healthcare worker or you know one, we want to give you the 10% Happier app for free for 6 months, perhaps longer, depending on how this thing goes. Just email us at care@10%.com and we'll hook you up. And if you're a healthcare worker and you're tuning in now, we salute you. Sorry, guys. I know there are a lot of people who like my cat, Toby. He's sleeping over there. He didn't show up this time, so he'll be back tomorrow. But Susan, excellent work. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all you're doing.
My pleasure. We'll see you guys tomorrow.